I think that let's talk about how it's going to impact students first of all.
Yes.
And let me make sure you understand the basis of my response. The only thing I can do is kind of compare what's happened in other states where they have put in place vouchers. And let me be more specific. The comparison that I'm making is with the state of Arizona, where frankly, 67%, and I think this is based on Wall Street Journal article, 67% of the students that are taking advantage of these vouchers are students that were already in private schools. And so essentially what you have, a situation where those students that already were paying for private school education are now being subsidized by the state of Arizona. And when you begin to look at the demographics of those numbers, frankly, the legislation in Arizona, as here in the state of Texas and other states, was sold based on making sure low-income kids in low-performing schools had an opportunity to get a private education. But the fact of the matter is, in Arizona, that's not the case. Most of the kids that actually took advantage of them that were low income, quote unquote, are back in public school now. And so, frankly, it's just a subsidization of private school education that's already been paid for by persons that could afford it. And I think that's going to happen here in the state of Texas also. You think about the definition of low income. The definition of low income in this bill is 500% of the poverty level chart. And that's a family of four. That's like $162,000. And so, and you're going to have a lottery. The lottery is putting those kids that are from families where you have $162,000 the same footing as someone that has a poverty level of 100% of poverty. And so they're on the same level. They're putting them on the same level as those kids that are trapped in private, low-performing schools. And so it's not, even though the argument is it's going to be helping those kids, the fact is that they're not given priority. They're not given priority in terms of placement, and $10,000 is not sufficient in order to get a private education. I think the vast majority of kids that will use these vouchers will be Anglo. And why do I say that? I say that because, again, you do a comparative analysis with other states, and the vast majority, disproportionately, of taking advantage of this program are Anglo students. Well, here's the deal. As we battle this DEI ban, which we will be battling it in the courts, we've got to come up with some race neutral criteria in order to make certain that we don't lose ground. And so it's incumbent upon communities that want to make certain we continue to have DEI programs, that we come up with some policies that will help make certain that we don't lose ground. And they need to be race neutral. Let me give you an example. Mm-hmm. When we knew that race was no longer going to be used as a factor in order to get into college, universities, we came up with the top 10%. Okay. And the top 10% law allows students, regardless of the color of their skin, which that's kind of where we want to be able to get, if you're in the top 10% of your graduating class, you can get into any university in the state of Texas. That's kind of where we need to be. That's race neutral. And it's based on merit and how student, regardless of how they perform, what environment they're in, their performance would dictate whether or not they're going to be successful and get that particular prioritization. And that's what we have to do. We have to get our best thinkers on this particular issue to help us come up with some policies that will be able to ensure that we don't lose any ground in this area while we battle this DEI mess in court. Yes, I do. I think that there's a couple of things. There's a bill that's moving through will be moving through the legislature that deals with issues concerning tasers and making sure they're not defined as deadly weapons, and which I can understand that because we want less lethal intervention as opposed to lethal intervention. But there's also, along with that bill, some language that would frankly provide additional immunity above and beyond what's currently being provided to law enforcement officers. And I would venture to say that that would be something that would be supported by the Trump administration when there's adequate laws already on the books that protects police officers who end up using any type of force illegally. Okay, and so yes, I think there'll be more of a push, if you will, in order to provide more protection persons that we are peace officers that will use deadly weapons or less lethal weapons in the state and in this country. It's too early to tell. Okay, a lot of times he's talking out both sides of his mouth. You don't really know what to believe, and so I think we're going to have to wait to see exactly how the secretary moves forward with any plans that that Trump has. So we've got to look at it. The fact that I don't know that the program is so large. We should look at it to make certain that we refine any issues in the program. We've got to make certain we do that because when you have that type of bureaucracy, there's going to be some problems. So we need to look at it and kind of fix those problems. But in terms of making certain that people are still able to get the services, we need to continue to do that also. So you've got to be able to strike a balance in there.